Welcome to Beyond Sunday at Seymour Heights, a podcast created to go beyond the Sunday service experience, exploring some of the deeper questions of our faith, and offered additional content from behind the scenes and from the cutting room floor. I'm your host, Adam, and 2024 marks 50 years of Seymour Heights. Over the next few weeks, we'll be sharing interviews with church members that have helped shape our church over these last 50 years. And this episode is exciting because we get to hear from Dr. David Eubanks and his sweet wife, Margaret. They were here 50 years ago in 1974 as the church got its start. So let's hear from them just how it started.
I became president of Johnson Bible College, now Johnson University, in January of 1969. At that time, I resigned my ministry at the Woodlawn Christian Church, where I had served 12 and a half years. 2 years as a student and 10 and a half as a professor. We continued to worship at Woodlawn for a few years, but during that time, Margaret kept saying, we need a new church at Seymour. Seymour was at that time one of the fastest growing communities in the state of Tennessee. So in July of 1974, we issued an invitation to people at the Woodlawn Christian Church and the Gap Creek Christian Church. Some other people got the news as well. And so we had a meeting on our front porch at the White House at Johnson. And about 12 or 13 people showed up. I don't remember all of them. Some of them didn't become a member of Seymour Heights. They just came to encourage us. But I do remember that Bill Blevins was there, and Lee and Lavella Richardson was there, Larry and Carol Vosding were there, Helen Lemon was there as well, and of course Margaret and me. And as I reflect on that meeting, up until a year or two ago when Lee and Lavella Richardson died, about 65-75% of those people that helped form Seymour Heights were still living. At any rate, we moved on from there, and in August we had a sort of an organizational meeting, and Larry Vosding was elected chairman of the group, and Helen Lemon was elected secretary, and a man named Jack Roy was elected treasurer. And the name Tri-Cities Christian Fellowship was adopted as the name of the group. Finally, in September, we made some arrangement with the Blount National Bank to meet in a community room there for worship, and they had two other rooms we could use for Sunday school. We had our first meeting October the 6th, 1974. Bill Blevins did the preaching. Lavella Richardson led the worship. Ben Lutz had the communion meditation. Larry and Carol and Laura Roy handled the Bible school. During the next months of September and October and November, the group grew, and we had averaged, I think it was 48 in Sunday school and 54 in worship. It wasn't long until we found out there was a piece of property available right close to Highway 441 and Boyd's Creek. It was owned by a lawyer by the name of Hal Burke, and it was 3 acres of land with a house on it and a horse stable. And we began to make plans to try to buy that that land. And sometime shortly after that, we had another meeting in which we decided to go ahead and make application for non-profit status and tax exemption with the IRS. We elected 5 trustees, Bill Blevins, Herb DeArmond, who had joined the group as well, Jack Roy, and Ben Lutz, and I'm forgetting who the 5th person were. And it was decided that they would be the leaders of our group until we elected elders. The first meeting we held in the house, which had a worship center in the living room and other rooms for Bible school, was in December of 1974. And immediately we began work on the horse stable. It had a loft in it, and the loft had to be removed, and scissor trusses had to be put in to hold up the roof, and you had to have a floor. The windows were sliding windows. We decided to leave the windows alone. Stage had to be built, and in February, I think the 16th, we began meeting in that horse stable for worship and used the house for Sunday school. All of the work was done by men of the church and others who came to join us. My son Philip was telling me the other day that on a Saturday when he came over to work, there must have been 25 people that were pitching in and doing the work on the horse stable.
It was a joy to see so many people working, and the women would bring food, and so that they had lunch when they were there working, and that was usually on Saturday.
And by the time we moved into the horse stable on February the 16th, we were running about 90 in attendance. The church was often going. In fact, as I was thinking about the beginning of Seymour Heights Christian Church, I thought there's more than one way to establish a church. And experts on church planting would not consider our beginning to be one of the best ways, because it began without any advanced planning, but it started and it moved rapidly. Then at another meeting, we decided, at the same meeting the trustees were elected. We decided to buy the property, and there were 2 or 3 other things. We decided to change the name to Seymour Heights Christian Church. And we also decided to approach the Smoky Mountain Christian Men's Fellowship for assistance. And in August, I think it was, of 1975, they sent Carlos Fields, the evangelist for the fellowship, to be our first full-time minister. Bill Blevins had been serving so well as a volunteer, unpaid preacher since July of 74, and Lavella had continued to lead worship. And it wasn't long till we recognized that we didn't have enough Sunday school space, and so plans were made to build a Sunday school addition, and that building was built and dedicated in December of 1975. It included 7 classrooms, a baptistry, a fellowship hall, a nursery, and an office. So I say that Seymour Heights began without advanced planning, but it moved rapidly. We were running about 90 in attendance when we were meeting in the horse stable. Early on, we established a mission program called the Faith Promise, where a speaker would come and people would make commitments to missions over and above what they normally gave to the church in tithes and offerings. And we had Dick Robinson, who was a missionary to, I can't remember whether at that time he was from Brazil or Portugal. He served in both places. But he came and held our faith promise and made a challenging, had a challenging message on what, on the Sunday you call Victory Sunday, when the people handed in their faith promise commitments. And somewhere in his message, Dick said, "Now I hope that you folk haven't already made your decisions, because God may be working in your heart to change your mind. And some of you may even be willing to double the commitment you had already thought about giving." So on the way home from church, I asked Philip, I asked the children, I said, "Well, what'd you think about that?" And Philip said, "Well, I came prepared to make a $200 commitment and faith promise. But after Mr. Robinson challenged us like he had, said I handed in a $400 commitment." Now, Philip didn't even have a job, and I'm sure he was going to have to do odd jobs to give that $400. He was just a young boy at that time. But I thought that was a pretty good response to world missions.
One of my wonderful memories is that David Jr. was baptized here. So,
and
Martin Sanders also became a Christian when he was living with us, and he was baptized here. So Martin is a member of the church here.
The church has had consistent growth since the very beginning. As I said, it had a fast start with good growth at the beginning, but it's had consistent growth right up to the present time. And Margaret and I hardly even know a large number of the people who are in attendance at the church now. And I think the sky is the limit. The church has good leadership. There's harmony in the church, and a very positive attitude. So I expect Seymour Heights to continue to grow, continue to serve in the community and around the world.